Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy. It's a pleasure. It's always my honor to be greeting you and bringing this message of emancipation to you, whereby I'm pointing you to look no other place but to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. That's the reason why I want to speak to you concerning the last Soufriere, Volcano, and the teachings of Neville Goddard. And I'm going to show you how everything in this world link to each other and teach you that we are all one and everything is connected. Now, Neville spoke of the birth from the skull. And I would have also had that experience of the birth from the skull. And to prove that this kind of teaching is the true experience of we discovering our higher selves, it has also been placed in the earth to prove that as it is within, so is it without. As it is above, so is it below. Now, our first birth, which is the birth from below, it was an eruption. When our mother and our father come together in the physical act of sex, it was an eruption. But that eruption actually started from above because it was first a thought, it was first an idea, and that eruption releases itself downwards. And we were expressed in the physical world. Now, there's an eruption that will take place from down below at the base of your spine and would ascend up, whereby you would burst your crown chakra, which is the base of top of your head, base of your skull, and you will come out and have the new birth, which is the birth from above. That is the real virgin birth. That's the true resurrection. That's the true Christ experience. And that birth will take place within, and you'll be expressed in the spirit world. That's why you become one with the wind. And you will also hear that mighty rushing wind. And when it speaks of tongues of cloven fire was above the head in Acts 2, it is you going beyond your skull. Now, I'm saying all of that to show you that when you see a volcanic eruption, it is the earth releasing also. It is the earth giving birth. And the earth will go through birth pains also, like a woman will travail in pain also. And all of these gases that it would release and the other things that would release from the volcanic eruptions, you have to realize that all of these components, that they are a part of your body also, and they are in you. That is why, while in some cases it might be destructive, it is creative also. Like for example, a volcanic eruption can create a whole island, okay? Create rocks. And in my country, the volcanic eruption would have given birth to fertile ground, make the land bring forth even more in abundance in the areas where the volcanic eruption would have spewed lack of its materials. And that is why most of the men in my country who grow the marijuana plant, they grow it in that kind of soil where it is very much fertile. And all of that is to show that when we come to that place of having that kind of experience, that kind of eruption, that kind of release, that would destroy the old world and come into the new world, which is the old form of thinking, the thinking of limitation, the thinking whereby we believe that God is a power outside of ourselves. I believe that God is a man in the sky, and we come to recognize our higher self, our true self. So everything is a representation of that which is within, and it's a representation of ourself. And that is why we cannot use these things to justify secular Christianity, to say it's the last days, that we're living in the last days and prophecies are fulfilling. Those who want to make you believe that are those who want to mess with nature and use the elements such as earth, wind, water, and fire, and we are the spirit, and use it to bring people under the energy of fear instead of the energy of love, because not much people realize that everything in this world, including themselves, have to walk by the elements, and you are made up of all the elements. And not much people realize that the Bible in Genesis chapter 1 is speaking about the elements also, and how you have to use the elements and bring the elements together to create. So the teaching of Neville Goddard, that he received from Abdullah, was to help us to understand all of these phenomena by we first of all putting our imagination to work, knowing that God in man is our imagination, and that everything in this world was first imagined, it was first a thought, it was first an idea. And when the Bible speaks in St. John 1:3 concerning all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made, to let you know that him is a personification of the human imagination. So it is by we knowing all of these things and putting them to work that we'll be able to have this kind of eruption taking place in us that many refer to as the rapture. But the real rapture takes place within, is a carting up where you will experience your higher self, your invisible self, and no one will know but you. And when you tell the others of the experience, they wouldn't believe you. Also, when we look at the teaching of Neville Goddard, we see Abdullah was teaching Neville Goddard the secret of the Bible around a time like this, when there was a great depression and the earth was under a lot of energy of fear. It was a time where they were moving from the agricultural age into the industrial age, and many were still trapped in the agricultural age and was moving into the industrial age, and they got trapped in the Great Depression. And we see here again that we have moved from the industrial age into the digital age, into the cyber age, and many people are still trapped in the industrial age. And that is why these kind of truths have to come forward in this time to help the people to come up to another level. And when we look at the volcanic eruption of La Soufriere, we see in 1902, which was at the turning of the century, it did erupt also. So these are things that are laid here in the earth as signs and symbols to help us to understand more about ourselves. So, my brother and my sister, we're seeing history keep repeating itself again. And then in 1979, which I would have experienced also, there was an eruption. You see? So, everything that is happening in the world would have happened before. It's all cycles taking place all the time. So, don't let anyone brainwash or deceive you to tell you, but it's the last days and the fulfillment of prophecy and all of these things. Okay? Everything we do every day in our life is actually a fulfillment of a prophecy, because everything that we see or we behold, it was first a thought, it was first an idea, it was first imagined. That is why the telephone is the fulfillment of a prophecy. The motor car, the cell phone, the computer, the internet, all of these things. Because when you have a thought in your mind, it is invisible. No one can see that thought. But you believe it, and you can tell someone what will happen before it even happened. And as long as you persist in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, it will come to pass, and you would realize. So, as I was saying concerning the Soufriere volcano, which is this volcano in my island, okay, I want to use this opportunity to let the people know that they need to look inwardly to discover that their real identity is their divinity, and to tune in to the teaching of Neville Goddard and apply it in their life and discover the Savior for themselves to be their own imagination. So, with that being said, my brother and my sister, I want to thank you very much, and I want to say to you, if this is the very first time that you're listening to me, and what I'm saying, it really makes sense to you and it's helping you in any way, I'd like to say to you, if you haven't subscribed already, to subscribe, to comment, to like, to share this video. But just before I leave, I just want to remind you that this message I bring to you, it is the single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew 6:22 says that if your eye be single, your whole body will be full of light. And to be honest with you, my brother and my sisters, hadn't it been that a single eye would have opened within me, and my whole body was filled with light, I wouldn't have been here bringing this message to you, saying to you that when it happens to you, you will first experience that great and mighty shaking, that great earthquake, and you would hear that unearthly wind, that mighty rushing wind, and you would wake from the dream of life and ascend like a fiery being, and you will come out of your skull and become invisible and experience the true virgin birth, experience the resurrection. And that is why you'll be able to testify to your brothers and sisters and tell them that true Christianity is pointing you to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity, and that secular Christianity that is pointing you to look outwardly will keep you in mental slavery. For the story of Joseph and Mary is the biggest lie that was ever told to humanity when it is being explained to you as literal and as secular history. That is why, my brother and my sisters, I always say to you, when you have this great experience, you come to realize that it is the rising of the S-U-N in a S-O-N, and that it is the dawning of a new day in your life. For truly the sun parallels the human imagination parallels the sun. For without the sun, there is no life, and there is no light. And without the human imagination, there isn't anything made that was made. And you're told in Psalms 84:11 that the Lord thy God is a sun, S-U-N. And there's only one S-U-N you know. And a shield, and no good thing would he withhold from you. And common sense would teach you that the sun is what powers all of humanity and give all of humanity its energy. Then in Malachi chapter 4 verses 2, you're told also that the sun, as in the S-U-N, after righteousness, shall arise in you with healing in his wings. So you see, righteousness is not something you attain, it's something you come to discover. And that is why when the sun has risen in me, I am bringing healing to all of humanity, pointing each and every one to look inwardly, saying to you to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your God power, your creative power, which is actually the sexual power. Use that power to achieve your every desire. And one of these days, you will have the experience of an eruption taking place in you, and you will understand the significance of a volcano in any country. This was the message that was taught to Neville Goddard by our ancestor Abdullah, the black mystic from Ethiopia. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, out.